Short-handed Alabama squad gets a gritty win over Clemson in the ACC SEC Challenge. J-Man, this was a game that early on in my notes, like 5 minutes into this, I was like, this one is over already. I believe Alabama, did they jump out to a 16-point lead? I
Yeah,
it
it was.
was
They're up 15 at half, but they jumped out to when I checked, it was a 16 point. Their largest lead was 19. Their largest lead was 19.
they were up. The point of my notes was it was just looked at the play-by-play. 7 minutes left in the first half. They're up 37-19. I'm like, this one's over. Good on Clemson to fight back. I thought they played really well in the second half, got to a lot of their strengths, what we even talked about in the preview in terms of getting guys on the block who could go to work. I thought Alabama struggled some with the physicality on the interior, and that was after like Aiden Sherrill. I mean, he finished with 8 blocks and just was completely swatting shots at the basket. I thought he and Amari Allen and just like they were London Jemison as well were just throwing like length and waves at Clemson in the first half. But the Tigers, to their credit, they figured something out in the second. But of course, the story here, LeBaron Phylon, he helps the Tide pull away. Really was there to answer every single run that Clemson made in the second half. He's the one they leaned on. Career high 29 points, 3 for 7 from three, 8 for 8, perfect from the charity stripe. 3 assists in this one, and yeah, just an Iron Man, a warrior, the guy they could lean on down the stretch. I thought he was phenomenal and continues to make his case as one of the, I would say, best two or three guards in the country. But I'll turn it to you. What did you make of the Crimson Tide's performance in this one?
I thought it was a solid performance because they scored 90 points and they only had seven in transition, like seven fast break points. And for an Alabama team, I mean, I always think they're going to score double digits in transition because they like to go out and go, and then they want easy looks. Like their analytics are layups or threes, and how do you get those in transition for the most part to get clean looks? And Clemson did a good job of limiting transition points, and they still scored 90 points. I mean, that's crazy. It's crazy efficiency. They shot 47% from the field, 35 from three, but they went to the free throw line. They actually both made 22 free throws, but like they just Phylon made the right plays as the number one option. And then
Mhm.
you have Amari Allen stepping up and having 20 and 11 and 4 assists. I mean, he led the team in assists. And then, like you said, with shot blocker Cheryl had 8 blocks. The Alabama had 12 and he had 8. And that was pivotal for Alabama down the stretch because I know we'll get into end of the game. Clemson came back and took the lead, but Clemson missed a lot of bunnies down the stretch when it was still a 1 to 2 possession game because this you could tell Gottfried and them were getting spooked around the rim because Cheryl has been blocking shots all night.
Yeah, I thought he like really rebounded nicely after there was a stretch in the second half where again we touched on this in the preview with the way that Clemson just has this litany of post players who will go to work on the block. Tonight it was Nick Davidson and it was RJ Godfrey. Both of them had really nice games. Davidson, this was I mean, for my money, his best game in a Clemson uniform. I know in the preview we talked about, I think his last 4 or 5 games, he had put up single digit points. And this one, he only finished with 11, but all 11 were in the second half, and they kept going to him repeatedly down the stretch. And he would just, I mean, either get the ball off a handoff and dribble into a post up or catch it on the block and go to work. And for as good as Sherrill was blocking shots, I thought like he got out muscled a couple times. There's a few instances where Amari Allen, like, dude, he was so good offensively, which I know we can continue just even looking at the ceiling for this team and the way that Oates just is an expert at finding these guys like London Jemison who came off the bench and was actually, I think Jemison might have started this one. Forgive me on that. Um, no, he did come off the bench, but they played small with him at the four for large stretches in this one. But like Oates found these two guys, sort of four-star recruits outside the top 50 who were just big time contributors in this one, but I thought they did show a little bit of their youth on the defensive end, particularly with Allen, like getting matched up with someone like Davidson, who is a seasoned vet, who has the size advantage on him. I thought he kind of had his will at the basket in some spurts, but ultimately some really clutch defensive blocks from Sherrill down the stretch. And then when you have Phylon there to ice the game, I mean, he had that massive three when it was tied 58-58. A few possessions later, he he had a turnaround jumper on Justin Porter that seemed to spur the Alabama offense to take back control. I mean, he like Clemson at one point in the second half ripped off an 8-0 run where they pulled ahead 83-81. RJ Godfrey with a massive bucket during that stretch. Alabama came right back down and ripped off a 7-0 run. And it's like Phylon is at the center of all of that. And to have Amari Allen step up as his running mate in the absence of Aiden Holloway, I thought was just a massive, massive learning experience and something you can really hang your hat on if you're a Bama fan, if you're Nate Oates, just looking at the contributors for this team.
Yeah, and I know that Alabama had a tough time with Nick Davidson, but they did a really good job on Carter Welling. He had seven out of the first 8 games of the season. He scored in double figures. He only had 2 points in 17 minutes in this game, and they kept him at bay with 2 turnovers as well. And so somebody else had to step up, and that was Nick Davidson. And 11 points in 14 minutes is a Carter Welling game that he's had this season, where it's just like double-digit points and low minutes. But a guy for Clemson that I said had to step up for them to have a chance was Dylan Hunter. I said he needed to have 12 or more. He had 13, 5 and 4, and 2 steals, and they had the lead late in the game. And
Mhm.
like you said, Phylon just made the plays down the stretch. They were down, Alabama was down 83-81. What has happens? Phylon gets a 3-point play to give it an 84-83 lead, and they didn't look back from that as Clemson went down and missed 2 free throws, and then what happened? Phylon made him pay and scored right after that. And like it just showed that one team, as at least right now, is comfortable with playing close because Phylon has that experience from last year, and Clemson's still kind of sputtering their way into learning these final stretches because
Right.
they were in it. I mean, kudos to them coming back from that 19-point deficit in the first half, but they missed bunnies down the stretch. They're 1 of 4 from the free throw line in the last minute. And like I said, Phylon made them pay when they made a mistake. He went down and got a bucket. And that's why you play these games also in November/December, because it's a good learning curve for Clemson, a learning experience for Clemson, because this is a good ball club. And they
Mhm.
had Alabama on the ropes at home. So nothing to hang your hat about. If
Mhm.
you're a Clemson fan, definitely frustrated that it slipped away, but you scored 54 points in the second half. I
Yeah.
mean, 30 at half, you score 54 in the second half. There's a lot of good positive takeaways if you're a Clemson fan.
Yeah, we can get to Clemson in a second. Just I want to talk about even their guard room. They're a well-balanced team. It's like a typical Brownell team that doesn't necessarily have the star power of someone like PJ Hall that you get like every 5 years. You get someone who is, a first team All ACCer. But there's a lot of talent nonetheless, good balance, and there's not a ton of clear weaknesses. But regarding Alabama, I still want to hammer home like let's talk about this offense some. Phylon obviously was the star. I think what stuck out to me with this one is just his sense of the moment, his ability to take over. We saw the exact same thing in the St. John's game. And it's so rare that these guys who flash in spurts and you see the NBA potential as a freshman, but they elect to come back as a sophomore who actually return and boost their stock. But I look at Phylon as someone who's comfortably in the lottery, could even find himself going top 10 in what has been a loaded draft class because he's just improved so much as a scorer. It feels like every big shot he takes, he makes. I mean, another good shooting night where the jumper was the real question. Like to me, his form looks better, his base looks better, everything about it looks more connected than it did a season ago. And you factor that in with the burst when he gets into the lane. Like no one can stay in front of this dude. He toys with defenders. If you play, it doesn't matter what ball screen coverage you play on him. If you double him or hard hedge or blitz him, it's like he's going to find an open man. If you play drop, he is going to absolutely cook you. And I mean, to couple that with shooting 39% from three on the season, like this dude is special. And where are you at in terms of either his NBA prospects or just like even so I would say long-term NBA prospects or even this season, how much can he sustain this with these like near 30-point outings?
I mean, it looks pretty sustainable. He's been sustaining it so far this season. I know he had what 11 against Purdue, and that was, the knock on them early. But again, that's why you play these hard non-conference games. Then 2 games later, or the next game, 24 against Illinois, and the next game was the one I was talking about. The Gonzaga was a 10-point loss, but he almost had 30. It was 29 on 11 of 18, and like he's playing as the first team All-American right now. Like he is lights out. I what analytically what Auburn, oh my God, I'm getting canceled. Alabama, because that's our next recap. Alabama and the NBA correlation for analytics, like he's definitely an NBA type of player. I'm not going to call him like Brandon Miller, but I'm a Hornets fan, so I see what he did at Alabama, and when he's on the
Mhm.
court healthy, it translates to his NBA game. and
Yeah.
that's why he looked so good his rookie year with the Hornets. Get healthy, Brandon. And Phylon has that potential for Alabama this year and for the NBA to be like, hey, 3-point specialist, like you said, drop coverage, I'm pulling. You hedge out, I'm driving because he can finish around the rim. He can make you burn from three. And with that, analytically, he's like the perfect type of guard ball handler to be at the next level.
Yeah, I can't say enough about the improvements he's made. This was someone who, if I could pat myself on the back a little bit, I'm a little biased because he did come on the channel, got a great interview out of him. But when we were doing our NBA draft stuff before he withdrew, I went back and watched a couple of his games and was like, dude, this guy has another gear that no one else on this roster does, and few guys in the country do when he gets into the paint. He's so quick, he's so just shifty and like so decisive with his movements, and it's fun to see him completely take off. And this one, down Aiden Holloway, down Keaton Bristow as well, who I know is more of a defensive guy, but still want to give that a mention. Down Latrell Wrightsell. I mean, you get Jaleel Bethea, who makes his debut, only plays 6 minutes, but to have both Amari Allen and London Jemison step up, I know I mentioned them at the beginning, but in terms of even what you're expecting out of Allen and Jemison going forward, like how do you think they build off of this performance?
I mean, it's got to be a confidence booster. You play, Maury Allen plays 36 minutes, and like those guys are playing in high leverage situations, something they're
Mhm.
really not that familiar with in terms of like what Clemson just threw at them. Like they faced a lot of adversity and they grew from it, and they grew from it in a win. So that just strengthens, and it's a strength in numbers, and it's going to strengthen the numbers of Alabama when they get down the stretch in SEC play when they have a man down. Can we trust this guy to step up? And they can, because we just saw what happened against Clemson. So
Mhm.
big win for Clemson, or big win for Alabama against Clemson, and it's a great learning experience for those guys to expand their roles when they're needed upon.
Yeah, I think with Allen in particular, just the versatility with his size and his length to give you some minutes as a ball handler. Like you're telling me with the strides that Aiden Holloway has made, I think we talked about this in the preview where he's gotten so much more dynamic on ball and he's really worked on his in-between game. He's more than just a catch and shoot threat. He can pass a little bit. Like to have those three guys when they're clicking, it's like how do you guard that, man? Like you can't really double any of them because they're just they're gonna find another man who can burn you and get to the hole or knock down a three and the bigs are good enough to where they can take enough attention off of those two, where it's basically a pick your poison. And with London Jemison coming in, like knocking down three threes, and it felt like all three of them were massive in terms of momentum. So just really good scouting by Oates to add these two guys, and credit to him to have the confidence in them to play them in this. I mean, it doesn't feel like a massive match. Let's not oversell it because it is Clemson. Like Clemson's a decent ACC program, but it's still Clemson. They're not really a football school anymore, but traditionally have been a football school. But still, this felt like a big moment, and to watch those guys step up, you got to be feeling great if you're a Tide fan. On that note, I do want to turn over to Clemson and just hit on them for 2, 3 minutes before we end this one. You and I are both ACC guys. We know that Clemson, I kind of knock them in terms of like they're the greatest program in the world, but they can be a thorn in the side for good teams. Like they have had both Duke and Carolina's numbers in years past. We have seen them beat our team. I think have they beat Duke and Cameron recently?
I don't know the last time they beat Duke and Cameron, but they beat Duke last year in Clemson. The one
Okay.
ACC loss Duke had was at Clemson. So they won 35 games and lost at Clemson. So
For
they're
some
always
reason,
tough.
For some reason, I feel like one of those Kyle Filipowski teams lost in Cameron to Clemson, but I could totally be misremembering. But it
That
does
sounds
seem
right.
like sorry.
I said that does sound right, honestly.
So I don't know. Someone in the comments fact check us on that. But yeah, this team is always they do. It seems like they always show up in big matchups. They're feisty. They got some dogs. They play really hard. And looking at this group. I mean, I was super impressed with Zach Foster. I know he's 5 for 17, but the athleticism, some of the shot making, like wasn't great shot making night, but just the confidence. He looked like he belonged out there. Kid who was, I believe, in the 60s in the 24/7 composite rankings as a freshman to come in and get an impact from him. He feels like someone who's going to be like who could follow that Chase and Dylan Hunter career arc of slowly developing, and then all of a sudden, as a junior or senior, you have an all ACC caliber guard, but. What did you make of Clemson and even how they might fare in the ACC going forward?
I mean, they're just going to be a tough out, like you said. And look, Zach Foster, he was feeling it tonight with the shot selection. 17, he was putting them up, 17 shots. he saw NATO's cross from him. He's like, I'm gonna get some shots up in front of NATO's. He's gonna see these analytics, 5 to 17. But he shot that many because he's that confident in it. And look, somebody needed to step up for Clemson to pull off the upset against Alabama. And though it was inefficient, I like the confidence from
Yeah,
the kid.
for sure.
Like I like RJ Godfrey. Like he had a tough final stretch, like the tough 3 minutes, but like he's the guy for them that he look, 32 minutes, 19 points on 6 of 10, 7 of 9 from the line, but like both those missed free throws, and I think felt like all four of his misses were in the last 4 minutes of the game.
Yeah, right.
So it's just like it's a good learning experience for this team, and they are going to be a tough out. But I say that in their next game's BYU, it's just like, geez, I don't. That is going to be tough for Clemson to bounce back from. Like you had a hard fought effort to come back from a big deficit against Alabama. You took the lead, kind of slipped away. Now you got to regroup and go against AJ DeBansa, and that's going to be tough. But look, if I'm Clemson, I shot 21% against Alabama from three. I made four all night, and we were in it till the very end. And I know there are a couple men down. I know, but you got to kind of look at it that perspective because sometimes teams that go a man down find the other ingredients that work. As a Duke fan, Kansas found that with Darren Peterson out. Who would have thought Kansas would be rolling as they have been lately? And so it just happens in the game to where Alabama found guys to step up, and now they're going to be even better. And Clemson, just because you lost with a team that's man down, doesn't mean that they're going to be, middle of the pack ACC. Hell, it could be a good thing this year in the ACC if you're middle of the pack
Facts.
the way that they're playing. So, if I'm a Clemson fan, it stings tonight, but like longevity wise, I think this team's going to be okay.
Yeah, I thought they looked like a tournament team tonight. And you look at the analytics right now, 23rd on Kim. Like this was not a death knell in the progress they've made this season by any stretch. Foster's way ahead of schedule. And even beyond that, like if you are a white big man who is nondescript and just physical and fundamental, like just go play for Brad Brownell. It's just like Jake Wally out of nowhere with 11 points in this one. Like, how do you have Jake Wally, Carter Wellington, and Nick Davidson all on the same team? That's a little too much caucasity there, but I guess it works for Brownell.
I mean, it's basically, hey, in Shefflin's still on campus, I think. You can just get him back too and just have a whole party of white boys in the post.
I forgot Shefflin's still on the football team somewhere, but yeah, it's like
Vanderbilt
that.
Bowl.
Brownell definitely has a type, and I guess just after nearly half a decade of Ian Shefflin and PJ Hall, he's like, why should I get away from this? So don't blame him on the strategy there, but yeah, I think going forward, you definitely want to see better nights from Justin Porter. He was someone who was shooting the ball really well going into this and kind of put up a stinker in this one, just 4 points, 2 of 7 from the field, but enough positives you can take away just from like I mean, doing what you were supposed to do. They had 50 points in the paint to Alabama's 32. That's how you want to win. Like you said, Jay, man, if they get they get two more made threes, they're in overtime. That shouldn't be too much to ask to make six threes in a game. So, all in all, solid outing from Clemson. No reason to hang your head. I think they will have opportunities for some good wins in the ACC and can probably find themselves on the right side of the bubble. And then Alabama, I still go to bat for them as a top 10 team. Obviously, you don't like seeing a blown lead, but still, I'll take away the positives here with, you did this without two of your best guards, and you have guys who just stepped up and made it seamless on offense. Got to get a little more discipline on defense, but I think they'll figure it out.